Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Small Talk and Big Ideas, the podcast where we have short discussions about some big ideas. My name's Peter, and this January I had the opportunity to speak with my grandfather in person. Now, this was a special moment for me because we don't get the chance to visit very often since I live in Ontario and my grandparents live in Alberta. Now, being at the esteemed age of 92 and still traveling the world with his one and only wife, my Nana, I jumped at the opportunity to visit them and hear some stories of old, and perhaps pick up some wisdom that comes along with 9 decades of life experience. My grandfather's memory is still as sharp and vivid as ever, and he recanted tales from his past that surprised and inspired me. His stories were about his career, from times he spent as a shipping yard manager in India to his rise as a successful businessman managing international sales and investments. His story was complete with ups and downs, personal choices, and calculated risks. And as I listened, I relished in the details of his story, and I listened to him recall how one opportunity led to the next, and how his value based decisions, strong business relationships, and great work ethic got him where he is. The entire tale lasted well into the night, with so many notable takeaways. But one of the things that stood out to me as an emerging entrepreneur myself was how different business was conducted back then, over 50 years ago. So today I'm reflecting on old school business approaches and compare them with the new age methods we all know and love. Now, I wonder, what's the best way to operate business? What's the best way to market oneself, to network, and to make decisions that not only grow a business, but builds stability and prosperity along the way? As I mentioned, I'm a new small business owner, and I've come to appreciate the freedom that I have in how I conduct business. Being a small service-based business, I do everything myself, from marketing to service delivery. But within this freedom lies real risk, and I know I'm not the first business owner who's come face to face with the same considerations. And considering all the risk that comes with owning a business, where do I focus my attention? Where do I invest my resources? And what calculated risks should I take to make a business a success? What even defines the old way of doing business? Admittedly, I don't have a time machine to travel back to 1954 and see for myself, but the facts I'm aware of highlight some elements that are certainly worth noting. Before the glory days of Google and Microsoft, there was no internet or e-commerce, but there were brick and mortar stores. And before emails and text messages, there were paper-based documentations, telephone communications, in-person meetings, and manual record keeping. In-person meetings seem so unnecessary today with the technology we carry in our hands. Great reception, lightning-fast internet connections, and increasingly convenient software like Microsoft Teams and Zoom mean we don't have to meet face-to-face. We can throw on a shirt and sit down at our desks for important meetings, all the while hiding the comfortable pajama pants we've likely all sported at least once. How many of us, I wonder, have attended online networking events only to turn off the camera, leaving the other end to stare back at a black screen with only a name to prove that we were there? As well, before the world of internet, business transactions were primarily conducted in person. That meant building strong relationships, trust, and relying on an immediate resolution of issues through handshakes and verbal agreements. True, this method meant business transactions took more time because, let's face it, business professionals had to jump in a car, fly in a plane, or take a train to meet with their contact. And those methods today seem completely unreasonable, yet I wonder if face-to-face business had an advantage when it comes to building trust, relationships, and finding timely resolutions, which are as relevant today as they were back then. Often, when I have a problem with a business transaction, I'm forced to call a number, send an email, fire off a text message. There's few instances when going to a physical location is called for, or even given as an option. Now, back then, almost all businesses had physical storefronts for both retail and service provision. It meant direct customer interaction, and it also facilitated the brand's visibility. But it did mean that businesses had a limited reach geographically. Not to mention having a brick and mortar establishment also meant higher operating costs, like rent, utilities, office supplies, like paper. Paper. Tons of paper. Records, contracts, communications, they were all filed onto paper and then stored for records. It seems like an outdated way to deal with documentation and data, doesn't it? I mean, we digitize everything nowadays, which seems proficient, right? But it's most definitely not without risk when you consider the increasing data breaches businesses experience and the subsequent cost of security measures and insurance policies to protect digital data information. Back in the day, robbers had to bust in, steal a box or two, and, get away. Now robbers just need to click the right button. Well, I guess the new way of business has its benefits for more people than just honest business owners. Paper communication was pretty slow, but we have been also using telephone communications since the early 20th century, putting that tech in the old school category. I wonder how many telephone calls must have been made back then for business, and how much that method relied on human interaction, which is a much older approach than telephones themselves. Phones didn't have automated voice services, and without the convenience of text messaging or AI to help craft a well worded conversation, talking on the phone demanded a certain level of persistence, charisma, and social awareness to be successful. Now, I could go on and on about the past, but I think you get the drift. The old ways of doing business had much more to do with human interactions, soft skills, and face to face interactions, which kept a business afloat. Now, let's consider today's world. There's no shortage of technology that we can rely on for business success. Online platforms, e commerce, digital marketing, cloud computing, remote work tools, automation, and the list continues. Businesses have learned to become quote unquote efficient by leveraging technology to streamline processes, reach a global audience, and enhance their daily operations. Doesn't seem like there's any competition when you think about the old school way, right? Yet, I wonder. Hold on. I'm going to use technology to help me with a thought. One sec. Okay. I asked AI to help me understand what people consider to be a successful business, what elements go into it. And interestingly, it responded with the following, and I'll quote: a successful business is often defined by its ability to adapt to changing market conditions, meet customer needs, maintain financial stability, foster innovation, and establish a positive brand reputation. But here's where it gets interesting. It further says striking the balance between traditional and modern methods contribute to a business's success. Well. Did an advanced technology just admit it has its limitations? Sounds ridiculous given all the tech and real time information we have access to these days, right? Yet I can't help but notice small companies are here today and gone tomorrow. We see more and more corporate franchises in our towns who reign supreme in the economic landscape. I mean, let's face it, you can't go anywhere in Canada without running into a Timmy's, a Walmart, a Canadian Tire, or even a Starbucks. Speaking of which, now that I've said that, I'm craving a double double and a Boston cream. But I digress. Let's get back to considering how technology helps us succeed. I mentioned how AI identified the elements that make a successful business. So let's start with adaptability. The world changes fast, very fast. It seems like the technology that's so integral to our ability to function changes rapidly. Well, rapid changes can sometimes overwhelm us. Think about how many people had frustration with moving to a hybrid work model and using Zoom. And for some businesses, that shift came with a huge consequence. And as a result, many folks had to make a serious decision about where their career was going. For businesses who rely on the latest tech, the challenge of keeping up with the pace of innovation can become harder to maintain considering the cost of tech, training, and maintenance. So now on to customer service. Surely customer satisfaction is better now with chatbots, online shopping, and emails. Well, I will say that I just spent a majority of this week battling with Amazon because their computer-driven account labeled me and my business as suspicious. Maybe they thought I was a computer program, or maybe they thought I was a hacker, or maybe the Terminator. I really don't know. But I can tell you that as a result, I experienced more frustration than I care to admit, and I wasted more time and energy trying to reach someone to resolve the issue, only to be told that no human has access to resolve my issue. Thinking about this problem, I have to consider how over-relying on automated processes might actually lead to a lack of customer service, an inability to resolve issues quickly, and a disintegration of a business relationship, causing everyone's business operations to suffer. I'm embarrassed to say I thought the experience of using Amazon would be convenient. Yet, my real life experience reminds me that I have the option to connect with suppliers directly. And now I realize that I would have gladly paid a little bit more for shipping just so I could have avoided the reality of having to spend a week on the phone, being transferred from department to department all around the world, and having to provide an excessive amount of personal information in order to receive standard office equipment. Okay, now I ranted enough about Amazon, so let's focus on the takeaways. Technology is unarguably useful, but too much reliance on it for business isn't always the best idea. Initial investments for tech are always very expensive, and if you disagree, I'd love an example of technology you can buy that's cheap. Not only that, but the maintenance of the technology that becomes so integral to business operations costs a pretty penny. On top of that, The increasingly frequent cybersecurity breaches poses a regular threat to operations and insurances, which directly impacts a business's financial stability. I'm starting to feel like I'm anti-tech, and I'm not. My business relies heavily on tech, so don't get me wrong. I believe innovation is the key to business success, and technology helps facilitate that. But it doesn't always mean that there's a technology that should be invested in to get you there. I feel like there's a pressure that we're all under, which has a way of persuading us into buying into tech to help us stay current, and we do. But when we find that we're in it for the long haul, we end up spending more and more on updates, software, security measures, insurance policies, and training. So I have to ask, why is the new age of business so reliant on technology when it seems like some of the old ways worked well, despite being labeled as outdated? Are we forgetting how rolling up our sleeves and hitting the pavement has benefits in itself in both sustainability and our professional growth and development? Besides, with all the rapid technology changing every day, the one thing we can be sure of that stays pretty much the same are human characteristics of respect, collaboration, and authenticity, which never go out of style. I don't know who said it, but I've always heard the phrase, balance is the key. And even the latest artificial intelligence conceded that balance in business methods is key for success. Now, there's businesses out there that do this very well, and I look up to them as inspiration for myself as a new business owner. I see them online, I see them in the community, and I see them at networking events. I see them everywhere. Brick and mortar businesses who utilize e-commerce as a way to complement their operations still maintain a strong presence on the block, but use technology as a way to invite people in for an amazing experience face to face. This balance brings a personalized approach, which is both convenient and accessible to everyone. And personalized customer service is hard to achieve after all. It means blending face-to-face integrations with the convenience of digital experiences. Remember, bots are good, but faces are better. Keeping oneself available to meet customers for their concerns, inquiries, and often compliments goes a long way in not only providing customers with an experience they'll be satisfied with, but gives us business owners the motivation and reinforcement to keep doing what we love to do. On to marketing. Handing out flyers on a corner seems hilariously outdated, and digital marketing is a must today, but it needs to have a human touch. Personal connections will always reign supreme. Yet, how many of us market through just SEO, social media advertisements, or even give it away to third-party marketing companies instead? I'm willing to bet quite a few. How many of us connect with our local business chambers, our local economic development councils, or even attend community events to mingle and just meet people? Our greatest marketing tool always has and always will be ourselves, our passionate, enthusiastic, and genuine selves. These are characteristics of a business that can never be replaced or replicated. So yes, use social media, but inject yourself into it. Engage with the community for which you serve and do business with, because trust, relationships, and resolutions are the foundation of any business interaction. I'm always surprised as to how much benefits come from human interactions. We'll learn much more as business persons when we meet up with somebody that we can chat with informally. Take digital data management, for instance. After speaking with an insurance representative, a lovely and kind man I met recently during an anniversary party for a business in the community, gave me some insights from his experience which I never would have gotten from a marketing flyer or an online chatbot. I could go on, but I think you get my drift. Technology is awesome and useful and sure does make life easier in many ways. But old ways have their relevance and benefit as well, which we can't forget or let fall to the waste. Blending the strength of both traditional and modern methods is the takeaway I'd like you to reflect on today. That blend in moderation can enhance overall effectiveness of our business operations while meeting the needs of customers, stakeholders, and ourselves. And that's why I recommend getting out there face to face with your customers, with your suppliers, with your community advocates, with your competitors, with people. I'm doing it after taking a note from a business savvy individual I got a chance to learn from. And as it turns out, an old dog can teach a new pup some old tricks. Thanks, Granddad. Until our next Small Talk and Big Ideas episode, remember to learn, play, and innovate.